A whole lot of prospects over the years have been compared to Blake Griffin, and there's no such thing as a perfect comparison. This one certainly isn't. But I think Caleb Wilson is an underrated Blake Griffin comparison that doesn't really get there because of aesthetic differences, I guess, where, Paolo Banchero, even like Kobe Pete this year, because they're kind of thicker and stronger built. And while it is definitely a difference, I think Wilson is kind of an interesting approximate, or I guess Griffin, an interesting approximation to me. And I think there's quite a few similarities, both statistically and on film, between these two. Numbers I put together sourced from Bartorvik and Synergy Sports. Pretty similar profiles in their final seasons. This was Blake as a sophomore, keep that in mind. Very similar pretty much overall. Efficient, high usage scorers, good rebounders. Wilson was a bit better of a shooting prospect with the volume and the free throw. Definitely a better defensive prospect. Griffin was a higher volume scorer. This dunks number is crazy. Assuming Wilson plays 35 games like Griffin did in 2009, he is going to break his 86 dunks, which is totally crazy. And there are film similarities as well for me. Griffin was a powerful, explosive athlete. Note how he doesn't need a running start to explode and dunk, and he and Wilson both have that long extension that just makes it look so aesthetically pleasing. And Griffin was definitely more than just a dunker. He had a nice little turnaround fadeaway in the post, and Wilson isn't a great shooter, but we see kind of a modernized version of that, right? Dribble handoff into a smooth baseline turnaround. Griffin wasn't as good of a defensive player as Wilson. He traded size and strength, which helped on the offensive end, for kind of the mobility that helped Wilson, but he could definitely explode and get up for blocked shots. And of course, Wilson is a monster protecting the rim. Crazy explosiveness and twitch off the ground. And I think he wasn't as good of a passer, but Wilson is an even better passer than Blake, I mean. This is more of an offensive than a defensive comparison, and I think it also works. I really try to scale my comparisons relative to the value I think a prospect can impart at their ceiling, and I think Wilson could be a guy like Blake Griffin who, maybe not peak Blake who is getting real MVP votes, but a consistent all-NBA force who, next to a great initiator point guard like maybe Chris Paul in Los Angeles for so many years, he could, finish lobs, be a threat in the post, block shots, and as, Blake Griffin got older, evolved, developed, he improved on his handle, he improved on his jumper, but because he always had that athletic floor to lean on, and I could definitely see that potential for Wilson down the road. Said, I think Wilson is a more impactful defensive prospect. He's longer, he's leaner, he's more mobile. His strength and kind of maybe touch around the rim aren't as great, but I do think there is some similarities here, at least for me, in terms of like the pathways these players could take down the line.